Good afternoon, Mr. Davila. Thank you for coming in today to interview for our compliance manager position.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, what we're going to do today is I have a series of questions that I would like to ask you to gain some insight into your education and background and what you might bring to us here at the city.
Excellent.
Okay, so we'd like to start off by asking you to describe an example of when you had to use Excel spreadsheets in the IDIS integrated program to monitor compliance for HUD regulations.
Okay. Well, Excel spreadsheets and IDIS are an integral part of daily duties and responsibilities needed for my current position and will also be needed for this new compliance manager position. With Excel spreadsheets, we use those in a number of different ways. There are a number of different types of spreadsheets that we use. One specifically is our ongoing report. With the Excel ongoing report, that allows us to track just about every unit of metric that you can think of for the clients that we are serving. It tracks obviously their name, their address, but it also tracks the contractors that we use for this particular job, the job itself that we may be doing, the amount that we're spending, things of that nature. So it allows us at a glance look of every single metric that you could think of for these particular clients. IDIS is very similar in that regard as well. It allows us to track, again, client information, but IDIS is connected directly to the HUD's database. Therefore, HUD is able to also see these Excel spreadsheets and this information that we're tracking. Not only does it track client information, but it's also going to track the city spending under the home and CDBG programs. So it's going to allow HUD to see what we spent thus far, what is needed, what's more, what's left, and so they're able to quickly access the information opposed to Excel spreadsheets where those are going to be used more in our office, in our department, from coworker to coworker. So again, programs that I use on Excel definitely on a daily basis, and IDIS at least on a weekly basis, if not more.
Okay, thank you. Can you give an example of a time when you had to draft a new policy or procedure for a new program that your department administered?
Yeah, we actually just got through working on such a program, our policies and procedures for that matter. So we are starting a new homeowner rehab program, and I had to basically kind of start from the ground up with this policies and procedures manual. We had to draft the requirements that are going to be needed, the minimum guidelines, and of course the terms of the program itself. So, we're going to dictate and determine what are the minimum requirements as far as income, and then of course again the terms of the notes. Is it going to be a forgivable loan? Is it going to be a repayable? If it's a repayable on a sliding scale, or is it 0% interest? So the policies and procedures manual for our rehab program was a long and detailed process, but I was able to really gain a lot of insight as to what it is that's going to be required and what we're going to need going forward with this program.
Okay. This position requires you to be familiar with home and CDBG federal regulations. Can you give me an example of a specific federal regulation or compliance procedure that you have implemented?
Yeah, well, HUD's definitely filled with a lot of regulations that are basically law when it comes to federal spending. One specific regulation that I use quite often is our Davis-Bacon Act. Davis-Bacon states very, very clearly what you are allowed to do and what you are allowed not to do. And HUD strictly enforces the Davis-Bacon regulations. For a Davis-Bacon project, it requires a great detail of specific information that must be tracked on a daily basis. So, for example, if there's a particular construction job going on, under Davis-Bacon requirements, I would have to go out and interview actual employees who are working on the site, gather the necessary information, bring that back and record it into Excel spreadsheets, IDIS programs, and also to keep maintaining files within our department. So in the event of a HUD audit, that those auditors can come readily pull those files and ensure that we are in fact in compliance with Davis-Bacon regulations.
Great. So, when there's a decision for a new critical process to happen, what means do you use to communicate that step-by-step process to ensure other people in your department understand and complete the process correctly?
Well, it seems like there's often a time to make decisions for a critical process, and there are a number of ways that we do that. Primarily, we're going to start with just a face-to-face interview with our clients. We're going to do a client intake, assess the needs that are needed, and then assess what services we can offer the client. We want to ensure that we are doing everything we can to put the clients in position for a successful interaction with the city, and that their needs are going to be met. And so again, we're going to do that through a number of different ways. We're going to have group and team meetings with our coworkers and delegate who can serve in what areas best. And we're going to do that also through just regular meetings with the clients and with our coworkers. Again, all in an attempt to serve the client as best as we can.
Okay. And can you tell me about a time when you had to learn a new skill regarding federal program administration?
There was a time just recently that I had to learn the new skill of grant writing. I have to say I had very limited experience in grant writing, but a new NOFA, Notice of Federal Funds Available, was released, and the city of Waco applied for a grant to receive these federal dollars. The grant was in excess of $1 million, so needless to say, it was a really big ordeal. So we took about 2 months to research, gather all the necessary data to submit a strong proposal for this grant. We haven't heard yet whether or not we've received a grant, but we feel confident that our name is going to be in the running and that we actually will receive some federal money. So the grant writing position was a big learning opportunity for me, but I think that we were able to really gain a lot of insight as to what's going to be required for future grants. Grant writing is an essential part of federal dollars, or applying for federal dollars. And so I feel like that this was a great learning opportunity for me, and I really took a lot away from the grant writing experience.
Okay. So, in working with federal programs, can you describe to me how you will incorporate cultural sensitivity in the administration of both the home and CDBG programs?
Well, the law is very clear on what is allowed and what is not allowed. We have to ensure that we do not discriminate against anyone on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, family status, or disability or sex. So that's going to be first and foremost, to ensure that we adhere to the law and that we, of course, do not break the law and do not discriminate against our clients. But also we want to ensure that we're going to be able to meet the needs of our clients in any other way that we may be able to do so. If there is for example, if a client is applying for homeowner rehab, maybe their home needs to be more ADA accessible. So we want to be sure that we recognize those needs and are able to meet those needs to make the quality of life for the client that much better.
So walk me through the specific steps you have taken when you're communicating a community-wide type initiative.
Well, the city of Waco is very fortunate in the sense that we have our very own public TV station, WCCC, the Waco Cable City Channel, is produced right here in this building in our studio. And with this Waco Cable City Channel, we are able to use it as a great platform to disseminate information that is pertinent to the public at large. One particular way we do that is through our TV show of Home is Where Our Heart Is. And I will interview clients, I will interview other nonprofits and even other employees to talk about the programs and the services that are available to the citizens of this community. So again, it's a great tool to let the public know the services that are available to them.
Okay. So when have you utilized your skills of project management to go above and beyond your typical day-to-day duties?
That's a good question. Well, of course, we have our daily duties and responsibilities that we have to ensure that we are doing on a daily basis. Now, very often there are going to be times where we have to go above and beyond that. And I can think of one really good example when we did that was when we hosted our Raise the Roof event. The Raise the Roof event is a project that we do with a local nonprofit, Habitat for Humanity. During this Raise the Roof event, I was in charge of coordinating the schedules for up to 150 volunteers for this one particular week. In addition to coordinating their work schedules, we also had to coordinate meals for each day, also coordinate the times that we will have our spokespersons come out and do appearances, such as the mayor and other corporate sponsors who are helping with the event. And then, of course, the actual work itself, coordinating what work is going to be done on what day. For example, one day we're going to, hang trusses. The next day we're putting up siding, and then another day we may be doing, painting. So coordinating all of these events within a 5-day period while still maintaining and keeping up with my regular routine and duties.
Well, it sounds like y'all do several different projects through your department. So share with me how you manage your time when you're working on multiple projects at once.
So working on multiple projects and wearing multiple hats is just something that I think you have to learn to manage and do well. And I do that by just simply trying to delegate my time accordingly, in addition to my regular duties and then going above and beyond with other projects such as Raise the Roof. I also am the wellness coordinator for our department, as well as the safety officer for our department. And through these programs, I also have to keep our department and our building informed of safety precautions and safety requirements that are needed. And then also is the same for wellness. Wellness is a huge initiative that the city of Waco is taking on, and they want to ensure that city employees are caring for themselves as best they can. And the city understands that we have to play a major role in providing all that we can to ensure that employees are successful in doing so.
Okay. And our last question for today is, I would like you to describe a time when you were able to demonstrate an ability to organize and coordinate work within schedule and fiscal restraints.
It's a good question. And one specific time that comes to mind was actually just the summer of last year, where we were up against our spending commitments. For the federal dollars that we receive, HUD puts timeliness restraints on that money, and so we have to ensure that it's spent in a timely manner. One of our departments was awarded a specific amount of money, and they were about 3 months out from their deadline and had quite a bit left to still spend. So we had to go in and speak with the department heads, try to understand why they were behind on their timeliness and on their commitment, and ultimately had to reallocate those monies to another department who showed that they would be able to have the money spent within the given deadline.
Okay. Well, Mr. Davila, we're at the end of our time together today. We're going to continue to review applicants, and I'll be getting in touch with you within the next week. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you again for taking the time today.
Absolutely.